Chief Privacy Officer, first General Counsel, and head of global public policy at Facebook. With a bio like that, to borrow from the musical Hamilton, you, sir, have been in the room where it happens. So with that in mind, albeit at Facebook, take us inside Twitter right now and how they make a decision like that.
Look, this was a very hard decision for them to make, as it is for every major platform. But ultimately, in looking at the incitement and the actions that the president had taken when he was still president, there was a deep concern, and Twitter made that decision to ban him and has reinforced it permanently. Facebook, on the other hand, has decided to refer that to the oversight board that it had established to allow for a review of these very controversial decisions. But Mark and the team at Facebook were very comfortable in making that decision in the first instance, but also in referring it to the oversight board to make sure that there was an outside review of this.
Now, I say this, understanding that you've been inside Facebook, to my knowledge, not inside as an employee for Twitter or the other companies. But with your opinion and with your experience that you have, do you think these companies, these tech companies, the social media giants, are they diverse enough? Is there something that needs to change there? Because we have spent a lot of time talking about the donations that have been made to Democratic campaigns versus Republicans, and there is a really big difference there. Should something be done about this?
I think there's a deep understanding within these technology companies out in the Valley that there's skepticism on the part of conservatives, there's skepticism on the part of libertarians, and there's skepticism on the part of liberals, too, about how they make their decisions. And they try to play it down the middle as much as they can. Certainly when I was there, it's been 10 years now. But we definitely tried to focus on how to make these decisions in the best interest of people's public information and how political figures are able to connect with voters, but ultimately not to step over too many lines.
Okay, Chris, so you can look up Chris's bio online. You can see that he is a Democrat and did run against somebody who you may recall for Attorney General of California. She has a new job. Her name is Kamala Harris. But I understand what you're saying there about Twitter. My question for you, sir, how long can the Twitter business model sustain itself if it's ticking off half the country?
And that's one of the challenges that any platform faces when there is a belief that they're discriminating against anyone. And Twitter is going to have to address that. And Facebook is addressing that by referring these things to the oversight board and trying to play these things as much down the middle as they can. But Twitter is going to continue to, I think, try to assess these things based on their overall policies. And they're going to do the best that they can. But ultimately, in the marketplace of ideas, if there are actions taken against people who no longer believe in the platform, that ultimately people will leave that platform.
Was this the right decision?
Obviously, there were a bunch of different challenges posed by the advocacy for incitement that you've seen from the president presented in the last few days, in particular in the impeachment hearings. And so, I think that both platforms, Facebook and Twitter, were comfortable with the decisions that they made at the time. And I think that Facebook, in referring it to the oversight board, is willing to have that outside assessment. We'll see over time if Twitter, if there's some sort of reaffirmation on the part of the president or anybody else who was active in inciting the insurrection to repent and to look at this differently.
I'm not going to lie, Chris, you seem pretty confident in the oversight board there at Facebook. I think we got to see if it works. I mean, we have to see at this point.
We'll definitely see. And look, they've reached out to a number of different figures in global free speech policy, and we'll see how that goes. It may work out extraordinarily well. It may not work out that well ultimately, but we'll see. And it's a better, I think, approach than just saying, we're a platform, we have our First Amendment rights, we're going to decide any way that we want.
Great insight. Chris Kelly, thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.